In this video, we're going to install WordPress using one of the many what's called one-click installation methods. Now, while there is a few more than just one click involved, you will see just how easy this method is in just a second. Now, before we get started in the WordPress creation process, I'd suggest that we first get our ducks in a row by creating a desktop folder to keep all the files dealing with our new WordPress site in. Files like our login details, images, future content, and whatever else you can think of that will have anything to do with this site can go into this particular folder. The alternative is that 6 months or a year from now, you're going to spend several minutes or hours looking for your login credentials or those expensive header images you bought for this site or your backup files, and you're going to hear my voice whispering in the background, "I told you so." So avoid the headaches and the hassles. Just spend a few minutes now, create that desktop folder, and you'll be in good shape down the line when you really need it. This so-called one-click method requires that you have access to one of a few different applications that create programs like WordPress on your server in as little as one click of your mouse button. Now, the one I'm going to be using in this demo is called Softaculous, but all of these applications work pretty much the same way. So once you've logged into your cPanel control panel, go ahead and scroll on down until you come to the module that says Software and Services, and in here is where you're going to find one of those little icons for that particular application. And again, in this case, it's Softaculous. Go ahead and click on that icon. That'll open up the application page, and you just select WordPress. And up along the top here gives you the various tabs to learn more about the program WordPress. But we're going to go ahead and just click on Install to keep the video moving along. And I'm going to install it on the HTTP protocol because I do not have an SSL certificate attached to my domain. And if I have multiple domains in this cPanel, hit the drop-down arrow here to select the one you want to install WordPress on. And if you want to install WordPress on a subdirectory of that domain, then just type the name in here. Make sure that that directory does not currently exist, because this application will create it for you. But I'm going to install WordPress on the root directory, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to leave the database table prefix just the way that it is by default, and under the site settings I'm going to leave these as they are by default as well. I'll show you here before the end of the video on where inside of the administration section of the installed WordPress program you'll be able to change these later on. Now, this is probably the most important section of the entire installation process, and that's where you assign yourself an admin username, admin password, and an admin email address. The email address is populated by default with admin and your domain name. I would suggest you create an email address, if this isn't one that's already in existence, that you either create one that is like this or replace this with one that is active that you have access to on a regular basis. But the main thing you want to take away from this is do not use admin as your username. Make it pretty difficult to guess. And the password, you've got the key off to the right here that will create a password for you that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 out of 100, which is doable. But if you want to get closer to 100 out of 100, just add additional characters. They can be upper or lowercase letters, they can be numbers, or even special characters. And be sure to copy this information and paste it onto a document somewhere in your organizational files, because you will need this at some point in the near future. And let's come on down and select the language. I'm going to leave mine at English. And under Select Plugins, I'm going to go ahead and check that box to install Limit Login Attempts. This is a great plugin. Unfortunately, it has not been updated for a couple of years, but it's still a great plugin. It works. It does what it's supposed to do, and that is, just as the name implies, it limits login attempts. If somebody's going to sit there and try to continue to guess your username and your password, then they're going to be locked out. Now, there are other plugins that will do this as well, so you're not limited to just this particular plugin for that action. But I'm going to go ahead and install it anyway. You can always go back and uninstall it later on and replace it with a different plugin. Under Advanced Options, you can learn more about each one of these items by just hovering over the I at the end. But I'm going to leave all of these alone. Even the backup, I'm going to leave that as Don't Back Up, because I'll be using a third-party plugin to do the backups for me. If you're not going to be using a third-party plugin, you should definitely have a backup going on. And to use this one, you just select whichever one you want, whether it's once a day or once a week, depending upon the amount of content you're regularly adding, would depend on which option you go with here. And then choose the amount of backups you want to store on your server. You should never go with unlimited, but 4 is a pretty good number to go with. But again, I'm going to go with don't backup. And you can choose a theme if you want to go ahead and install one from this application. But for the time being, I'm going to leave this alone. And here's the one-click part of this entire installation process. After you've got things set up the way you like, click on that button once and it's installing WordPress for you. And we're good. Click on this link here to actually see the site. That's the current theme that it's on, and I believe that's the default 2015 theme. And if you want to log into the backend area, click on this link and have your username and password handy. And you'll only get this warning popping up if you elected to install that plugin Limit Login Attempts. So at this point, we want to go ahead and put in our username and password, and then click on Login. This is the dashboard area, and if you come over here to Settings, General, this is where you can change the site title and tagline, and under Appearance, Themes, it's where you would go in and add additional themes and change the current theme to whatever you would want. And that's it. That's going to bring us to the end of this video on using one of the one-click installation applications to install WordPress on your server. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day.